All right, welcome to the Tennessee River Valley podcast. This is my attempt to do something new on my YouTube channel. Now, with this podcast, I'm going to talk about the podcast and I'm going to talk about myself a little bit, give you guys a little bit of history of me. Now, before I address all of that, let's talk about the gorilla in the room. Dieter Melhorn is doing something similar to what I'm doing. And that's perfectly fine. He is doing a really good job at doing it. And he has inspired me to try to do it myself. Now, I've done stuff like this in the past, and it helped me get my cat on camera. My cat is about 16, 17 years old now, and she's been on the camera a few times in the past. And now with this, new format that I'm trying, she will be getting on the camera again, as you can already see. And like I said, I've done this before in the past, either outside talking about fishing things or in my old house where, my sinker slide video was done there, and kind of like this format. This is a little bit different because I've got a light and a little bit better camera. Hopefully this is looking good, at least good enough to be a YouTube podcast. Now, with most podcasts, there's usually an audio version of the podcast somewhere else, which I may do at some point once I figure out what platform I want to put it on. However, you get better value watching this on YouTube because I want to include graphics. And I'm going to use this as a quick transition. Here's a picture of me as a teenager holding a blue catfish. And yes, I was as skinny as a bean when I was younger. That is one of two issues right now that I have to address on YouTube, is that I have gained a lot of weight and I have a speech impediment, and people tell me this all the time in comments. When I was younger, I actually had speech therapy to help me learn to talk better. And it did help, but there are days when I am just slurring all over the place. So you have to bear with me if that happens when I'm doing a podcast like this. Now, for the fishing side of me, I've been fishing all my life. Ever since I could pick up a fishing pole and, cast it out there, I was catching fish. And I tell you what, when I was a teenager, I was the bass master. I was Bill Dance. And I wanted to make, like a TV show like Bill Dance, which is kind of what I'm doing here on YouTube. However, I am a little bit different. I'm not exactly like Bill Dance, obviously. I'm not a bass fisherman. And, when I got older, I realized, I'm not like the world's best bass fisherman. But you could say there was a few things that caused me to start thinking that. There was one time I was bluegill fishing with a buddy, so I have an actual person who saw this happen. I had the bluegill eat the worm off my hook, and I got mad, typical teenager, threw it back out there, reeled it in, and wham, like a 4 or 5 pound bass ate my bare hook. It had nothing on it, and I caught a bass from the bank. And that, just kind of helps with the ego of I'm the best bass master. Now, there was other times where I remember, like, there was a log in the water and there was a bass under the log. The log went up like that, kind of like headphones or whatever, and the bass was just sitting right there. And I threw everything I had in my tackle box at that bass, and it would not eat at all, would not eat anything. Even back then when I thought I was the best bass master, I really wasn't. Now, the big thing was my parents would drop me off at Milton Hill Dam, and they dropped me off with a buddy or two, and we'd just fish there all night long. And one night I had my big catfish rod and reel with me, and I had the idea, why don't I float a live skipjack under a balloon out there and see if I can catch that 200-pound catfish that lives below the dam. And while I was catching a rock on fire next to me, something absolutely slammed my rod. And I mean, I held on for dear life while it was pulling the drag, and then pow, snapped the line. And at the time, I thought, oh, wow, I just missed, the big catfish under, the dam. However, knowing now, that had to have been a striped bass. And I don't know anybody else at the time. I think I pulled that method from some saltwater guys where they were using something similar in saltwater for like sharks. And I put a skipjack under a balloon, I put it out, and got broke off by a striper. I really, really wish I knew what I had going on there, because I never really followed up on it or did anything with it. But it was a really, really cool thing. I was 14 years old. I thought it was a 200-pound catfish that broke me off. Of course, you do become an adult eventually, and I was fishing sometimes, and then sometimes I was selling my fishing gear because I didn't have any money. My adult life was on and off with fishing. It was the same with boats. Like, my first boat was when I was 13 or 14 years old that I rebuilt. And then just over time, every few years I'd have a different boat or a kayak or something else. And then, YouTube happened. And I came up with a plan with my YouTube channel. It's always a good idea. Like, if you're aspiring to do a YouTube channel, you need to have a plan. So I got panfish.net, that domain, which right now it goes to my buddy Peter's plastics. They're like panfish plastics. I did kind of a trade with him for some rod holders a while back, giving him the domain so he can use that to sell his plastics, the Smackdown rod holders. I got that domain, I got the panfish name on YouTube, and then I started contacting various YouTubers that I watch and know, and got set up to do collaborations with, like, Joe with Chat Cats Fishing. And then I launched my channel, did the collaborations, and it helped me grow. My first, 300 to 400 subscribers was 100% help from Joe with Chat Cats Fishing. And over time, it just stacks up. You start growing. I've never had any explosive growth. Joe had explosive growth, and all the other YouTubers, I haven't hit that point yet. But I've been, just my line is growing slowly to over 16,000 subscribers. And I cannot thank you enough for subscribing to my channel and following me on this journey, especially when I'm trying new stuff like this. And now that I fast forward today, I'm trying to do a little podcasting. Now, I'm quite sure these videos are not going to be too terribly long. It's going to be kind of whatever I can find. If it's a news article or talk about hooks, talk about the Tennessee Angler Recognition Program. There's a few different things that I can do to make these podcasts. And I'm still going to go fishing in my boat. I will still do boat videos and upload those as well. I don't know what type of schedule I'm going to do. I would love to try to do something every single day just to see what happens. Now, I do want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment below what you think about this format. And comment on everything. How's the audio? How's the video? Do I have this set right? Is there too much glare in the background? I've only got room for so many things to show off in the background. So I've got one of my trophy blue cats, and I've got my Master Angler Level 2 award for the Tennessee Angler Recognition Program. Maybe I'll add some lighting or something too in the background to give green or blue vibes or something like that. I don't know yet. This is work in progress. Anyway, as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to actually watch this video or listen to this podcast. I really, really appreciate it. Now, hopefully, this summer heat will start going away and the fall will get here soon, so the bigger catfish will start eating again. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you next time.